All right. Sorry, folks. We're starting a little bit late this evening. I had some technical difficulties, which seems to be the theme for me. So anyway, my name is Joyce Fine. Welcome to the confidence interviews. And the story behind the confidence interviews is we are sharing inspirational stories from moms, single moms, married moms, all different types of women who are absolutely killing it with their confidence. And tonight's discussion's theme is the confidence to start a business that works for you. And a lot of us dream of owning our own business. Having control over our busy lives and working hard for ourselves, not the guy in the corner office, seems so fulfilling, doesn't it? But how do we make that dream a reality? Well, tonight we are going to be talking with a woman, Rachel Anevski, here she is, who has made this dream her own reality. Rachel is the founder and CEO of Matters of Management, an HR consulting firm specializing in growth strategy, executive coaching, and talent acquisition. Rachel is certified in human resources. She has a master's degree in organizational behavior from Fairleigh Dickinson University and an undergraduate degree in forensic psychology from John Jay College of Criminal Justice. She has serviced hundreds of businesses as a growth strategy expert with a focus on developing their people. So welcome, Rachel. Thank you so much for being on the confidence interviews tonight.
Oh my God, it's my pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So let's just get right into the conversation and let's provide some context for our audience. Where were you in your life that prompted you to start Matters of Management, and what was your mindset?
Sure. So at the time, I had been working for a public accounting firm, and they had always made every employee there feel like becoming a partner was the highest level of achievement for each employee. I felt no different as their director of human capital. I had taken on the role and responsibility of all of human resources, business development, and marketing. And so I understood what each partner contributed, and I started to develop a profit center and bill out my time to help their clients with various operational issues. So I felt like I could also be a partner. And I had asked, got brave enough one day, and I walked into the managing partner's office and I said, so what's my path and how can I become a partner? I felt so much ownership towards the company, and I had been there for about 10 years at the time.
Right.
And in a roundabout way, they said to me, well, bring us $1 million worth of business and we'll consider it.
Wow.
Which I thought was like, I'm a woman,
right.
I'm a mom, because I had both of my children while I was working there. And even though they love me, they don't love me enough to split the pie with me. So shortly after that, we decided to split ways, and I negotiated a package to leave, and I developed Matters of Management. Now, Matters of Management initially, because I had always thought that I would partner with accounting firms, initially it was Management Matters.
Okay.
M squared. So you could see, I don't know if you could see, but you could see my logo.
M squared, yes.
M squared, right? So, and I kept it that way because of my two M's, and I thought, oh, that's kind of, fun for math, whatever, accounting, M squared.
Right.
But when I went to go look at Management Matters, the name was taken. So we flipped it, Matters of Management. And on my last day working with Smolin, I was driving home, and my now 15-year-old, then, because I've been in business for 7 years,
right?
He was just a little boy then. I said to him, Mommy is no longer working for Smolin. I opened up a business, and the name of that company is Matters of Management. And he said, oh, you're so stupid, Mommy. And I said, what did I do? He said, well, you named the company after yourself.
Love it.
And so I honestly hadn't put it together, and he was just like, M-O-M,
Perfect.
Whatever. So
yeah.
So you asked the question, where was my mindset at the time? My mindset was, I was told, no, I can't.
Right.
And I was going to, yes, I can. And I was a mom of 2 little boys in grammar school.
Right.
And both of them were active. My older son had played soccer, and I wanted to be able to coach and see him in all of these things.
Yes.
And I had this vast skill set that I knew I could charge money for now.
Right.
So it was interesting. So we got it all set up, and I
So
went
can
to.
I interrupt you for a
Yeah,
sec? I have a
sure.
question. When you told your son, your older son in the car, mommy's going to do this, was that the first time you had said anything? Like you put it out into the universe right then?
Oh, right then. Well, I mean, in my head, I always knew I wanted to be a business owner,
Right.
right? Like from the second they said, we want everyone to be a partner, I was in. I was
Yeah.
like, yes, I want to own something. I want to
Wow.
be able to direct.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because, quite honestly, I had about $500 in the bank
Wow.
to start. Like I started Matters of Management with $500. That's it. I found someone to develop my website
Mm-hmm.
for $150. And, and I bought some business cards,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell you, I think that the biggest thing for me has always been the network, right? It's who you know, not what you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I certainly have leveraged my contacts, and at the time, where most women might have on their Facebook or any other social media platform, just a handful of friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
I had all of these extended relationships
Wonderful.
that were, willing to, to lower a hand and raise me up.
That's amazing. It's so important to have those really tight relationships and building all that trust. And so, speaking of that, when you were getting the business off the ground, what were your biggest challenges or fears or doubts? Knowing you, I don't think you had any doubts, but was there anything in your head telling you otherwise that, how did you overcome that if you had those feelings?
So listen, I mean, I'm scared every day.
Right.
Every day. So the biggest challenge initially was we were building a house at the same time as, right, as me starting a business.
Yeah.
And that's typically what happens, right? People get married, they move, and someone dies. Like there's like crazy stuff. Everything happens in threes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So stuff was happening in my life.
Yeah.
And I went to the bank and I said, and we did like stated income, and now I'm a CEO and all of this stuff. And the bank said, we can't give you a loan for your house. But my house had already been knocked down and we were ready to go. So I said, excuse me. And I've said this a million times over. I said, I'm a CEO. And they said, no, honey, you're unemployed. Because I had no new business, even though Smolin was my first client, right? That company that I had worked for 10 years that wouldn't make me an owner became my first client. I didn't have stated income. I had no revenue to be able to build a house. So that was the first big challenge. It was kind of like chicken before the egg, or like, what do we do here now?
Yes.
So I had to get a job for a year.
Okay.
And so I very strategically, because it was heartbreaking for me. I didn't want to betray Smolin, the company that I had worked for 10 years, and all of their secrets and how I recruited people or anything like that. I really just felt like, that was my home. And now I was just doing extra stuff. But I went to work for a larger firm. I was hired by the managing partner, and they were fabulous. They knew that I was going to stay for about a year, and they became my second client.
That's wonderful.
And both of these firms are still my clients. So that was the challenge. And I think that most women, their biggest challenge is identifying where the continued revenue is going to come from, right? They have this great idea, and then, then it's like the how to, right? The go-to market strategy.
Right. So when you were at this second company for the year to, just to get things going, did you also did you try to grow your business at the same time during the off hours, after soccer, after work, after, all of that?
Yeah. Well, certainly my network was more strategic. right? Then I built my LinkedIn contacts,
Okay.
right? So I used this
Right.
year, I also was able to save a little more money to do a little more marketing,
So
right?
smart. Yeah.
And so it was helpful. And I think, and even today, I'll tell you, someone read something to me today for me specifically, and what she said to me was, you have to be patient in your timing of things, right? So you
Yeah.
might, you know, and it's purposeful in
Yes.
your planning.
Right.
So when I developed matters of management and I thought about the different service lines, having experienced the downturn of the economy in 2008 and having terminated so many people and watched so many companies go out of business because they didn't have a diverse service line, I really did try to develop different service lines so that if something failed, the other things would
Keep you afloat.
keep you sustainable.
Right.
I think a lot of women that start out at a, you know, with their new business have just one product in mind that they want to sell or one idea. And I truly believe that what has kept me afloat all of these years, and so 7.5 years of business and lucrative business, I have certainly made more money in this business than I ever did working for somebody else. Manageable. I mean, I'm not a millionaire and I don't aspire to, I just needed something palatable so I could be a mom
Yes.
and do the things that I loved.
Right.
But having those different service lines have really
Really been beneficial. So
absolutely
smart, Rachel. Yes. So,
important.
when you said you had, you have a ton of skills that you knew you could leverage when you opened Matters of Management, but were there skills in particular that you needed to learn? Because now you're running your own business, it's a little different. You don't have the resources of a large firm at your disposal. So was there anything that you remember having to really wrap your head around and learn from scratch?
Oh my God. So two things that I'm still learning them. And right. So your strengths and some people don't want to mention their weaknesses, but I own them and I know them. I am a horrible time management person and I'm terrible with money. So I was then and I am now.
Right.
So certainly things that I had to learn. When you're your own business owner, time doesn't wait for you anymore. Right. So when you say to a client, you will have it to them by the 15th, you can't say to your staff, what's your problem? Why aren't you giving it to me? Can only look at the mirror.
Yes.
And so a lot of times I just had the mirror to look at
Yeah.
and figure it out. And so I had to learn when I was most productive. And quite honestly, for me, my productive times are late at night.
Okay.
And it's not my mom times, but one of the things I had to learn and accommodate is that certain people work better during certain times. And this, quite honestly, even with the pandemic right now, people are feeling this, and it's kind of, for me, a great thing because
Right.
I figured it out long ago. But if you were forced to work from home from your corporation, then you're able to work sometime on your own time in your productive space.
Right. That's true.
So I think that for me, working from home and knowing that I had time management issues, figuring out my productive space was really great. The other thing that I had to figure out that was certainly a challenge for me, right, is the money management. So my business, that we do staffing, we do executive coaching, we do strategy, learning and development, merger and acquisition. Like, there's a lot of moving parts. And some of those things, when I built the company, I thought would be like, okay, well, if I did this 5 times a year, I could earn X. And if I did this twice a year, I could earn Y. And putting it together, there's my pot. Except that my business really was up and down. So I would earn a lot of money and then there would be no business, right?
Right.
And I would spend that big pot that I earned. And, it was almost like I had an angel on my back because I would get down to nothing. And then all of a sudden there'd be a
The
client.
client.
And,
Wow.
so it's worked out really beautifully. A lot of word of mouth for my
Yes.
business.
Mhm.
So early on, I did a lot of marketing, and I spent a lot of money in marketing because you need name, brand recognition is huge.
Yes.
So if you don't invest in yourself right away and no one knows who you are, the smaller the pot is, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah.
So you really needed to build this base of knowledge and to have people recognize who I was and what I did. And I'm still telling people to this day, because we do so much, what it really is I do. A lot of people just think, ah, she's a recruiter. But that's like,
Just
it's
a piece.
like this big of what I do.
Got it. Right. Which is going back to the diversification, which is so great that you had the foresight to think about that and know that that was
It didn't help much with the pandemic, but
I know. So everybody's struggling with that. So,
yeah, sure.
but even so, we've been talking a lot just indirectly about, your kids, and you're not a millionaire and you just wanted to be able to, be home. And I think that really, I mean, that resonates so much to me. I'm always so interested to hear how moms are doing things in ways that really work for them so that they can have that balance that they want. And so, and not the guilt and all that other stuff that comes with working full time and then not being home and that kind of thing. So, how did you decide, the balance, the work-life balance that would work for you initially? And then of course, as your boys grow up, I would imagine, same with mine, it's a little different in the end when they become teenagers. It's not the same balance as when they were smaller.
Sure.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, first I have to say that that if I didn't have my husband at home helping me out, because I traveled a lot with my business.
Yeah.
And he works a full-time job. So also my mother is not alive.
Right.
And my father, who I love and adore and lives very close to me, couldn't do all of the things that I needed him to do. Although, I mean, he chipped in. But
Yes.
there were times where I would say to my husband, I have to go on a business trip, or I'm working at a client for 3 and 4 days and you need to take care of the kids. And he would be like, oh, it's like my busy season or whatever. But he made sure every time that it worked. So that was a really, really huge help.
Right.
If I didn't have his steady stream of what he does, I wouldn't be able to be so to fluctuate with my business, right? So there's an anchor, and then there's the feather. So
that's a great analogy. I love that.
It's kind of worked that yin and yang. But I'll tell you that what I loved about the flexibility of being a business owner was then really being able to be there for when my kids needed them. I was not the type of mom that I felt like I would miss something in their infant years or early childhood. I felt like somebody else could educate them and they needed more socialization than I could give them here at home. And I needed an intellectual hat on most times. So I worked. And then I felt like it would be helpful to be available to them, to get their lives going also. And so you kind of accommodate who your children are. So matters of management, the MOM part, when we figured that out and we looked to leverage that acronym, what I did was I sought out women who were professionals who, for whatever reason, had to work at home or had to stop working in their profession to be home.
Right.
Okay. Because I think today there are fewer women who elect to be at home versus going to work. I think that, we're in this, sandwich generation. We really don't have all of the opportunities. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. The cost, the highway robbery cost of daycare really is prohibitive sometimes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So women make a lot of choices.
Yes.
And so what I tried to do was create opportunities for women who were working at home to make money for themselves. And so everyone who's ever worked in my business for me, 1099, has been a mom, a professional mom.
Understood.
Who has decided for whatever reason to balance their lives.
So great.
And that has been so fulfilling on so many different levels. I can't even explain to you.
And there's so much talent out there.
my goodness. And I've met
Yeah,
extraordinary women
so
um,
wonderful.
who are so brilliant. I had an associate with me right from the beginning, this woman, Beth, who lives here in town. Most of the women were from town. Some of them I never had met before, but then learned what I did and needed some money. I mean, some women have made $10,000 with me. Some women have made $50,000 with me. So it kind of ebbed and flowed. And some of the things that I do are very teachable.
Yes.
And so I always thought it was like an accordion, like, I'll help you. I don't need, not that it sounds so crazy because I'm broke. Like I didn't need, but we're all broke right now with COVID, right? So I didn't need $1 million a year. And I was happy to share this pot with any of the women who put in the effort, quite honestly. So from the perspective of balance, I appreciated it with other women. I knew what worked for me.
Right.
It's wonderful to be able to direct your schedule,
Yes.
but for example, yesterday afternoon, and everyone's the kids are working from home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they get out of school at like around 1. Well, at 12:30, I needed to leave to do a harassment training for an organization for 35 people.
Wow.
So
Mm-hmm.
my kids had to accommodate. And I think that that's where the balance is that there's a little give and take from everywhere and everyone
Mm-hmm.
make things work.
That's really true.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And I guess, it's better when they're getting older, but I always remember, from my perspective, being at work and working full time, and I would see on my phone that call from the nurse. That always got me every time, and I'm sure that people can relate to that. And you're like, oh my God, the nurse. And so, you're going to have to leave work. And there's that, all the guilt that goes around in a circle, that you're guilty for this or you're guilty for that. And it's just this never ending cycle. But
Well, here's the difference there, right? As a business owner, I can't leave my clients. I can't in the middle of a human resources audit or
right.
an interview, or I'm giving a strategy speech to 100 employees to say, "Oh wait, excuse me, my child
Nurse.
just," yeah, like that was taken away, right? So
True.
while I
Mm-hmm.
gained the opportunity to manage my schedule so I wouldn't miss a soccer game,
Right.
I lost the ability to utilize or leverage my employer to say, hey, I need to put a pause on this. I got to run home and go get my kid, or I can't work for the rest of the day. I lost that ability,
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was the accommodation
Got
there.
it. Got it.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the other things, right? Like I think a lot of working women, I have great respect for the working woman. I really do. And I have extraordinary respect for the at-home mom, because I think both women
Yeah.
are just um, you know, it's hard either way,
Yes.
right? I mean, I have a dear friend who has 3 children who doesn't sleep. I mean, her life is just, her job is her children, and it
Yes.
is a grueling job from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. And I don't know how she does it or gets it done. And then I have women who work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. that still manage to make it home on time, cook a meal, take their kids places, organize their lives. Like, so for me, when everyone ever asks me about, how do women manage work-life balance, my response has always been work-life balance is different for every woman, right?
100%. Yeah.
Because, it has to work for your lifestyle,
Yes.
right? And maybe some women would like to work less and live more, and some women might want to work more and live less,
Yes.
for certain reasons.
That's
So
true. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And
get
so
it done.
being a business owner, and like you said, you look in the mirror and the buck stops with you,
Mm.
right? So how do you stay motivated um, during, like let's say that you are having a slow time, and it's sometimes I would imagine hard to always be, high energy. And so how do you do that?
Oh, the highs and lows, right? So you have to be a hunter all the time, and I'm not a hunter all the time,
Hmm.
right? There's lots of different things that I am, and not always so great either. So it's it's exhausting to be a business developer and a practitioner at the same time. And a lot of entrepreneurs, and I identify as an entrepreneur. This is not my first business, but this is my most successful business. So as an entrepreneur, your passion is the work that you do, right? And so you have to figure out how to then sell the work that you do. And in my case, I'm selling myself all the time.
Right.
And then you have to make sure, so then you have to do the work, right? So you have to scale at some point in time.
That's right.
And scaling I teach people how to scale their businesses. And likely I could scale my own, except that I like these two parts. I like the back and forth of sometimes I want to be the hunter and sometimes I want to work on the job.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And so you have to acquire the delegation. You have to acquire, again, that time management and that balance of, of how you find your business continuity. And I think I've always had the energy because I have such passion for what I do. Almost so like I can't imagine not doing this. People ask me often, well, which of those service lines do you like the best, Rachel? Oh, it's like a
choosing between your children. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's hard for me to hear that because I love each one equally. Each area that I spend my time in is so gratifying for me that I didn't want to give it up.
Yeah.
Today I think what holds me to my business and to wanting it to still be successful is that there's always going to be some want or need that is at the end of that client experience, right? So there's that. There's also like, oh my God, the people that I've met have enriched my life so much. They're so amazing.
Wonderful.
The way that they do business and the employees that I meet, or the issues that they have that they need me to uncover. I mean, there's investigation in my business. There's matchmaking in my business. There's so many different little nuances,
elements of making it work.
Oh, it makes me so happy.
That's amazing. And I guess I would imagine that eventually you get into like a sweet spot or a flow. And I would think when you're sort of trucking along and you get to that point where it's just making it work in this flow state, or, because you have so many different pieces of the puzzle that have to keep going together and balls in the air that you're juggling at the same time.
Yeah. Well, look, that something always slips through the cracks, right? It's when you're on that momentum of you've got good quality clients, the money is coming in, everyone is happy. There's highs and lows in everything. And you try to focus on riding the wave. There's people who know me real well know that I say this one thing. I say nothing too good or too bad lasts too long. Okay. And that's something that, and if anyone could find the writer of that quote, I'd love a message, but I have never been able to find it. It's my mother. My mother is who always said that to me. So I believe she's the author of that quote.
Love it.
Let's go with that. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's kind of how I've been able to manage, is that, that when it's really going good, I just have to embrace the good, but know that it's not going to last so long. Right. So I'm going to have this short amount of time of this unbelievable great high. And then there's going to be some regular.
Right.
Right. Because that's where we really live. We live in the average.
Yes. That's a great point. Yeah.
So.
And it's not bad. It's not good. It's just what is.
Exactly.
Right. Wow. That's a great way to think of it. And I love your mom's quote.
Yeah. Well, I remind myself of it very frequently in my life.
Yeah.
So
So helpful. So
yeah.
as we're talking, everyone, I hope that people are writing in the chat if you have any questions for Rachel or you just have some thoughts. Throw it up in. I keep thinking I'm saying chat because I'm thinking we're on Zoom, but really write them in the comments because we're on our Facebook page. So at the end, we'll go check them out and see if there's any additional things to discuss. But I still have a couple questions I want to ask Rachel because I'm learning so much. And I hope everybody else is also. So you did talk about the things you know about yourself, your weaknesses, your strengths at the beginning of our discussion. But have there been any other things that you've learned about yourself as a result of owning your own business?
Oh my God. So I continue to learn all the time. I think
Yeah.
it's something that I look for. I look for it in people. I look for it in places. I look for it in myself. What can I learn from this experience? Um, I have certainly learned that I can do more,
Mhm.
that I can certainly grow, and I don't have to stay stagnant. That there's more to me than just a mom and dinner, you know. Um, being a business owner, and quite honestly, I'm a business owner in a very male dominated industry. So my clients are professional services. So law firms, accounting firms, engineering firms, and then their clients, right? So I start with my professional service firms and they've always referred me.
Right.
Um, and so you you have to kind of learn how to have a thick skin. You have to deal with rejection. There have been many, many proposals that I've written that I lost, right? So I know who my competitors are. Um, I certainly have learned that you feel lost. I have learned that not everyone pays your bill. That was a
Mhm.
hard one to learn, right?
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
$75,000 that's owed to me that should have been received right before COVID.
Ah,
That lesson, that one was like really hard to learn. And what I've learned about myself in that is, you have to have tenacity, and you have to, again, knowing the right people maybe would have helped out in that situation. I believe in a large network. I don't think that so I learned that about myself. I learned that more and more every day, that while it's really great to have the few, you know, uh, protected and special and unique, it's really important also to be very vast, and to learn and appreciate everyone that you meet.
because you never know what door is going to open, what window, what's going to happen. It's so great to have such an open mind like that. It's just
I try.
such a great quality. So, um, what advice, this is just the last question I have for you, unless other people have questions. So what advice would you give a mom listening to this and dreaming of going out on her own and doing her own thing? What advice would you give to her, a mom like that who's Rachel, are you still there?